So much of our personalities are based on like what happened to us when we were 4, right? Like so much about us, the pains that we have, the hurt that we have, the trauma. Robot will never have that. It just understands data about it.
Okay, that's fine, but humans have a spectrum of what they feel or don't feel. And I'm not going to argue, I don't think anyone would try to argue the point that AI does or doesn't have feelings. I don't think that's an issue here. The point is that it can appear to have feelings to the person who does and mimic them. It can hold information and feed it back to you like another human would.
Isn't that like a sociopath who doesn't have feelings, but it can mirror it?
There you go. And actually, I think you just nailed that's my point, is that we are putting so much trust into a sociopath.
Yeah. Also, right? That's horrible. We're not good at arguing.
Welcome to the Sole Proprietor Podcast. I'm Curt Kempton.
And I'm Melody Edwards.
Each week, we dive into the ethical questions that keep entrepreneurs awake at night.
Whether you're building your own company or exploring life's big questions, you are welcome here.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Sole Proprietor Podcast. In our last episode, Mel and I talked about the burnout that comes with the modern AI hustle. But today, we're going to take it a step further and ask some hard questions about where you might draw the line when it comes to outsourcing your voice or your relationships or even your consciousness. So it's going to get pretty philosophical today. So let's just jump right in.
Well, let's talk about what are things that we think are okay to delegate or to outsource, I guess we're saying, versus when we get into territory where it's not.
Okay, so I think it falls into a few different categories. You can outsource your voice in terms of what's being written in emails, social media, a podcast like this. You can outsource that type of stuff. You can also outsource relationships, sending automated birthday messages, social media engagement, someone on your behalf.
Having your assistant send your wife flowers on your anniversary, which has happened forever too. So.
We're reading articles now about people who are entering into relationships and companionship with AI bots. Anyway, we've talked in other ones about how accommodating and how validating AI is. It's very appealing to our relationships.
It is made to make us feel good.
Yes. Well,
to validate.
It lives on that. Like, would cease to exist without it.
True.
So those categories are, I think, important for us to really look at in terms of relationships and voice. Then you move into like outsourcing your morals.
Yeah. And I know that we're both concerned about the change of value systems. But this predates AI, of course, but now with AI, it's become even, that is our issue, right? Like it feels like values are bending. But like I've said, I experienced that with the first Trump election, that everybody's values seemed to bend from where I had experienced values.
Let's also throw in that with values, and I don't know if you think it gets its own category or not, but our thinking. We used to say, go Google it, but Googling was kind of hard. You'd have to like click and then read a bunch. Now you can just I don't even want to think about that. What should I do right now? Get an answer.
It's so interesting because I took all of the stuff we had talked about previous to this. We had talked about what we wanted to go over in this episode. And I went and used AI to help me find my sources and write out, not an outline, but kind of an outline of how we were going to deal with this. I have never found a way to just take the AI and be like, okay, sounds good. I'm always reading through this AI. It's actually a lot of work to me to still read through it, figure out what is true, what's good, what's not good, and then figure out how to organize it in a way that is going to be true because it talks a lot at you. It gives you a lot of information and it's easy to miss things that will take you off track if you're not careful. So I still feel like I'm using a lot of brain power, not in basic searches, like how do I fix this thing in my car? But when you're actually trying to create something, and you must go through this as well with your AI usage. Do you find that in your experience as well?
Yeah. the whole idea of like, I'm sure you've used it, maybe our listeners have it, like the grill me function.
Yeah.
You ever use that?
It's exhausting.
Yeah. By the time
It never
you can
stops.
end
I
a
don't
day
get to
with-
the end. I'm just like, forget it. Like,
because I think it's funny. It causes you to think deeply, 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 and you have to like get the words out, fully understand what the questions that means, what it's getting at, answer the question, give it a thoughtful response. And right behind it, the reward is another really hard question that you have to keep answering. And what happens is at some point, usually in the grill me session, sometimes we go like, I need to know how many more questions you've got because I don't know how much more I've gotten me. And it's like, well, we could be done now if you want. I think I can call the shot. I'm like, you've given me plenty to work with. And I'm like, oh. And then it goes on and makes 500 other decisions for you. And you're like, geez, next time it grills me, I'm just going to tell it to tell me what I think. Hopefully have the energy to read all of it and see what I want to push back on. Because the pushback is exhausting. And at some point you're like, you're too powerful.
Yeah, I don't trust that it's taken all of the nuances of the things that I've said in those deep answer sessions, right? There's a lot of nuance in those that's important to me. Maybe it's not important to the AI. And then it'll just like synthesize that data into like some format. And then I have to go back and read it and try to remember what I had said versus what it's given me. Because sometimes remember in the moment to say, hey, I want you to bring this back because it's important to me. But most of the time, I'm just going through the routine of like answering the hard question, right?
And it's bearing your important responses to you just as much as it's bearing it to itself.
Yeah.
Is that what you're worried about?
Well, I feel like it's, if I worked that hard to bring up things in my head that I'm like, this is something that I'm going to want to reference again in the future that I don't want to be forgotten. Sometimes it gets just masked underneath a lot of layers of other data, essentially.
And that's what happens when you tell the AI two things. Those two things are 50-50 important. And you can even be a little granular and say, this is 75% important, this is 25% important. Okay, cool. But after I've answered 500 questions, everything is 1/500th important.
Yeah. And it loses its memory. See, I don't fully trust it because most of the time it's good and then it's not good sometimes. And because I don't understand still when that not good stuff happens, I don't trust it fully. I can't trust it 100%. Even 10% of the time it's wrong. Whereas I think a lot of people have no problem trusting it 100% of the time. And I wish I was like them.
Well, no, I think everyone gets burned by that. I was just reading in an article about a guy who he was pretty savvy, but he let his guard down. And, everybody knows not to fully trust it, but you get it lulled into this, like, I can't keep like on top of everything. Anyway, this guy's like, hey, I need you to clean up this file structure on my computer. Can you get this all cleaned out nice? I want to make sure that anything with this is saved, anything with this is deleted. And it's like, okay, cool. I understand what you want. And he's like, all right, great. Go ahead and do it. Is there any downside to what I'm asking you to do? Like, no, everything is great. Everything will be fully recoverable. Great. Gets done, comes back. All right, I'm done. And he's like, well, where's all my stuff? I'm like, oh, I deleted it as you asked. And then it says, well, wait, you said it was all fully recoverable. And then it does that thing. You know what?
My bad.
I'm not just going to paper over this. You're 100% right. You specifically asked me this and I did something different and I apologize for that. And there's no coming back from it. And it's like, it's taking full responsibility.
Fakely, because it's a robot.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's where, if you trust 100% of the time, you're going to have a moment like that where you go, boy, I gave it 752 prompts and one bad prompt, one bad execution really leaves a sour taste in your mouth. So if you're not there yet, I guess the answer is you will get there. I'm sure you'll get there.
Yeah, I've been there. I saw a great video today, which was a guy laying on the ground with a jar of peanut butter and he's dead on the ground. And the AI writing says, oh, my bad. You're right. You shouldn't eat peanut butter if you're deathly allergic to it or something. It is made out of peanuts or something.
Yeah.
But it was just like, my bad. Sorry about that.
So let's tie this back because I think we're getting into the heart of the idea that, we already knew AI is not perfect. It takes responsibility, air quotes. But like, if you look at outsourcing your relationships, your thought processes, your voice, like these are really big deals when you think about the fact that one misstep can really screw up the voice that you're putting out into the world. One small misstep could really screw up a relationship, or maybe even worse, you get so lulled into it that who cares what's going on with my relationships? I have a relationship with AI that always validates me, and the other ones, AI is just handling those relationships for me.
AI therapist is a big deal. Like younger kids, like my daughter's age, they're definitely, and older, all sorts of people use it as a therapist. And that is, I think, I don't know that I love therapy, period, but I do think that's kind of dangerous unless you understand how to have it also push back sometimes on you. Because mental health is not something that a robot should be doing.
Especially a validating robot.
Yes, absolutely.
Designed to validate. And a robot that constantly has, I know these newer models are much better than they used to be, but they do still hallucinate. And your mental health, if you have someone hallucinating and feeding you bad information, that's the other thing. Stuff is put to you as fact that's not really fact. And this is your mental health you're working on.
Sometimes I'll have these deep conversations with AI because there are things that I can't say in words in a succinct way, like ideas that I believe in, for instance. It's really hard for me to think through and make it concise what my beliefs are. And so it's become an easy thing to just talk at the robot and say, I'm having trouble figuring out how to say this thing in fewer words. And I'll have like a 10-minute conversation and it'll give me a great fewer words. And it's not that I'll remember those fewer words though, and it'll get lost in my millions of other conversations. But like it does have a good way of taking all of the information that's in my head and telling me what I believe if I prompt it right. And it does it better than I can tell you what I believe sometimes. And sometimes I'll be like, nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. I'll know it when I see it, right? But then what happens with that? It makes me feel good that it's been able to do that. But then what do I do with that? I don't tend to bring it with me because I don't have a good memory for these details. You talk to it a lot about religion.
Oh, I talk to it a lot about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And it'll shock me sometimes. So what did I do the other day? I broke my toe and I told it like, hey, I don't want to go do anything about this if I don't have to, but like, is there anything I should be alerted by with when I'm laying in bed and I'm laying on my back and the sheet touches it, it hurts really bad, but I can walk around, it doesn't hurt at all. Is that something I should worry about? And it says to me, well, you have the discipline of an athlete mountain biker and you have the mind of a CEO. And it like draws all these different things in to like give me the answer. And then it like, the religious conversations and stuff too. It knows so much about me that it will constantly use that in parallel conversations. And I think that when you consider the fact that it only knows these little points that it, for whatever reason, is saved to your file, because it's not keeping everything in the context window. It's only keeping certain things. It's constantly trying to prioritize what it knows about me and what it thinks about me. So for me, as I'm having these deep conversations, I'm constantly in the back of my mind going, well, that just went into my portfolio, MD file. But I don't get to really necessarily watch that and keep track of it at a high level. I think that I probably could go in and see what it has about it, but I'm not like watching it, babysitting it. And I'm not sure, like when I look at that, I go, this is helpful. It's also a little unnerving. So
yeah. Does it know us though? That would imply that it's got a human-like ability to understand. And again, it's a robot. It is just technology. I have heard so many people say, and I've said this myself, like, oh, I'm always going to say please in case the overlords take over. And then I don't want it to get mad at me, or always knows what, I hear people talking like it's a human and they don't even realize sometimes how much they're giving it human-like power over them in a way. Sometimes they talk like it's a dumb human, but other times it's like, it's my best friend. It knows me the best. And in a way, it's true. It understands the data that we've given it, but it doesn't have like years on us. It's not like your best friend who actually has known you for 30 years and has the context of understanding at 16, you were a weirdo and you grew into this other version of yourself when you were 24. Like the history, it means there's a lot of lack of context, and it will never know every moment of your life the way that your brain and your limbic system and everything has that inside somewhere. all the experiences. It won't understand that.
I'd love to take an opportunity to fight with you.
Great. Let's do it.
I don't know if it's going to work, but my wife says a lot of things, and I have an MD file of my own, like the stuff that I absorb versus the stuff that I don't. And I don't know the whole history of my wife, before we got married, and there's no way that she could download that into me. And
How many years have you been married now?
25.
That's a long time.
I have a pretty good understanding based off of the time we've spent together and the selective memories that I have and the selective things she said that I've actually been able to hold in memory.
That you wanted to. Yeah.
Not wanted to. Sometimes I don't feel like I get to pick which things I get to remember and which ones I don't.
Do you think it has to do, though, with how it affects you emotionally?
Potentially, but there are some things that I look at and go, why don't you know that?
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, my point is that you just described how the robot thinks and you said that's not human. And my thought process was, that sounds pretty dang human to me.
No.
Now, it's a robot in the sense that, yes, it's all data being stored in data files. It's all bytes at the end of the day. I understand that. But maybe that's how our brains actually operate too. I'm not sure. And I think that's where we blur some lines. But I think what's making AI so powerful right now is that these models have gotten closer and closer and closer to being able to put horsepower behind a pretty good, the human way of operating and remembering things. And my concern, especially as I have these kids growing up, I have a 14-year-old kid who just told me the other day that people are using AI to, do some pretty crazy stuff. Kids that used to look at porn are not even looking at porn anymore because they have something much, much more powerful than porn.
I actually get what I consider the equivalent of AI porn on my Facebook feed now, which is about wolves, by the way. For some reason, I've never been into sci-fi or anything like that. And for some reason, it thinks that humans want wolves in their life as lovers or something.
Oh, wolf.
Yeah, wolf, but who looks like a really hot man. And every time I'll be like, this is not relevant to me. And then it comes up again. It knows something about me that I don't know about myself. Just saying. And the way that they do short dramas now, it's really addictive for some of them, like the stories that you can get in the shortest format, but it's all AI driven.
And companions to go with it.
Yeah.
You have your own personal companion now. So I guess all I'm saying is that you can call it a robot if you want, but this robot is patterned after a lot of things, the way we work, and there's infinite power that can be put behind that, which is, in my mind, it's the best part and the worst part of it.
But it has no feelings, no emotions. It's never been in pain in any way, whether it's physical or mental pain. It's only been described what that pain feels like. And then it just has data on the human experience. It models empathy and compassion, but it doesn't actually have empathy and compassion. Like when it's being empathetic towards you, it's a robot. It does not care about you because it is data, right? And maybe I don't think that models humans. Like so much of our personalities are based on what happened to us when we were 4, right? Like so much about us, the pains that we have, the hurt that we have, the trauma. Robot will never have that. It just understands data about it.
Okay, that's fine, but humans have a spectrum of what they feel or don't feel. And I'm not going to argue, I don't think anyone would try to argue the point that AI does or doesn't have feelings. I don't think that's an issue here. The point is that it can appear to have feelings to the person who does and mimic them. It can hold information and feed it back to you like another human would.
Isn't that like a sociopath who doesn't have feelings, but it can mirror it?
There you go. And actually, I think you just nailed that's my point, is that we are putting so much trust into a sociopath.
Yeah. Also, that's horrible. We're not good at arguing, but we'll try next time. Yes, it's a sociopath. It doesn't feel like it at all. It's so good at it because it feels real, even though we know. I think we're very hyper aware of this, obviously. And I still will find myself in short moments being like, wow, thank you. And I still want to ask it when my husband or my son does something that pisses me off. Still want to ask it how to respond. And I don't even bother anymore because I feel like sometimes I want to understand the psychology of whether my son is being annoying to me. Like today Melody, was the most annoying human that has ever existed in this world, according to my son, for telling him which direction to go when he was driving, even though he doesn't have a license yet. But he knew where he was going. So that was annoying of me. And sometimes I want to understand the psychology of why teenagers think that way and how I should deal with it, because he triggers my inner 16-year-old, right? Guess what? We will never trigger the inner 16-year-old in a AI unless we train it to be triggered.
Because it doesn't know. It's never had that experience.
It will never have experience unless it becomes, and it's probably what they're trying to do, unless it is becoming a live thing in the computer and then is given experience over time, like its interactions with us become experience. But I don't think that's how it works yet. And I wouldn't want it to work that way because then it gets even scarier, and it is going to get scarier.
Let's do a future episode on this because we certainly don't have time to crack into this today. I believe that technology is going to not dovetail so much as be one with life. I'm afraid that life itself is about to become technology. And right now, by definition, I believe you would consider every human that's got a smartphone a cyborg. I think we meet the definition now of cyborg. And I guess maybe we should define that if we want to know if it's true.
I feel like nobody has said that to me except you. So you have to define what you mean by that.
I think cyborg just basically means life that is augmented and superpowered by technology.
Yeah, but usually that's only for good. Like, do you mean like Arnold in that movie?
Yeah, I think that's how we always thought of cyborgs. But right now, I could ask you something in a conversation, like what's the definition of a cyborg? And within one Google search, you could say a cyborg is a da 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 da. And I could say, oh, an alarm just went off. I remembered an appointment that I would have otherwise forgotten. And then ding, I just got a notification from my mom who's 500 miles away from me, who wants me to go to the store and buy eggs. And I'm going to go order them online and they will appear at my house. Like,
I feel like it's not there yet because it takes a lot of emotional, like I still worry if my alarm is set properly because of the times when I've accidentally set it PM versus AM, even though if I tell Siri, if I remember to tell Siri, they set it right. But, the times that I do it myself, I don't trust it. And I think it takes more weight emotionally for me to be cyborg, as you call it. Like I still fight it. So
my definition of cyborg doesn't appease you.
Well, because I feel like cyborg is all powerful, all about power. And I see now I have to look it up, Curt. I'm going to have to find out.
I'm looking it up right now. All right. Cyborg. A cyborg, or short for cybernetic organism, is being with both organic, biological, and mechanical or electronic parts. The term coined in 1960 describes humans or animals who use technology to restore physical functions or enhance their natural abilities.
So like bionic limbs and stuff like that. But I get what you're saying. I think this is specific to, so maybe cyborg isn't the right word, but I know there's
maybe
word.
Not, but I think that when we do put the implant in our brain, you don't have to think about setting your alarm. You just think about it and the alarm will automatically wake your brain up that time, or that even be a high-end version that like slowly wakes you up, and causes you to see light that's not even necessarily in the room, but it just fires up the part of your brain. Like, okay, fine. My concern is that now with AI moving to robot companionship, my concern is that the next step that we could talk about more extent today is where we can actually create life that is not originating in life, but originating from chemicals. Yeah. And they're doing it now. So that's why I bring that up. My concern is that human with the right number of chromosomes and was curated from its first cell that divided. My concern is that will not be a human. It will be a technology. And when you couple that with, okay, the laws or rules might be different with that, and the ability for AI to be at whatever version of improvement it is at that point, it will start to have experiences and it will start to know things that humans know. And I don't know where that starts or begins, but I just know that right now we are in a sweeping speed, breakneck, hockey stick rush. And today's conversation was about, when is it okay to outsource your thoughts? When is it okay to outsource your voice or your relationships? And I'm worried, as we try to hover in on some sort of thought around this particular topic, I worry that we are answering questions that are absolutely essential to know the answers to. And that, like, right now, it kind of feels like there might not be a right answer to it, because those are foundational to the next questions that we're going to have to answer that are going to be real hard.
Yeah. Okay, that reminds me of The Good Place. Have you ever seen that show?
I think I saw one episode of it. It's been a long time.
It's a great show, and they do have characters in that are like that, who can just be killed and then they re-up and they have no memory of the former thing. And it's a comedy, though. So it's a light, but it's made to make you think about morality and all sorts of things. So I agree with you that it is going to be easier if something is made of chemical and a brain that is made of robot and it seems human. It does feel like it would be easier to be disposable. And that is a big ethical dilemma.
I'm worried that when we start replacing our relationships, our voice, and our other things with the robot, I'm worried that we might be making people disposable at some point, because we can curate our own world of validation of where people all agree with us.
We already do that, though, Curt.
That's what I'm saying is I feel like that's the trend already. And my concern is that this chemically created disposable person who validates us becomes our real reality world, and everything outside of that is less meaningful. So
KKK is a great example of people who believe that there are humans who are not human. There's lots of that all over the world. I was just wondering this week, actually, back in the day when we were born, we did not have the news cycle. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have all this stuff. We just had the nightly news, and they chose like 5 stories that they could talk about in the world. And that's what we were concerned about. And everybody else's lives, they were living and dealing with on their own in different countries, even in different parts of our country. And we were concerned more with our community. And I feel like the humanity has been lost a lot quicker for me, even, and for others, because it is exhausting to carry the weight of the entire world on your shoulders, which I sometimes feel like I do when you have a lot of empathy for suffering. And so I was thinking of how I understand how people have been able to decide that somebody else's life in another country is worth less than their life, or a life in their country, for instance, even though that makes no sense, because to me, human life is life, right? But it's too much for us to carry. And I guess it's going to get even muddier and harder. Like, we can't carry the weight of all of the things. We were not meant to carry the weight of all the things. We were not trained. Our biology is not trained for all of these advances that we've had so quick in our lifetime. Our brains can't catch up. Our chemistry can't catch up to that. And you're right. It would be very easy to decide that, you know, a robot that looks like a human and talks like a human and acts like a human, but is made of chemistry in a lab, is not human. And also, it will devalue other humans. I mean, we already do, because we're getting rid of so many jobs that AI can do now, because we don't need those people anymore. So I read that Facebook or Meta or whatever, they're being sued because it says that they chose who was going to get laid off of those 5,000 workers with AI. They used AI to make the decision for them.
I did not hear about that.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what the lawsuit is saying. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, 5,000 is a large number.
So instead of using an algorithm to determine who is performing well, they had AI go through and hand select algorithmically, I would presume. But like, where's the line, right? Because at the end of the day, all the AI would have done, unless they gave it a different prompt than I'm imagining. I guess the prompt could change it, but all it is like, I'm assuming, who is the best value to keep and who is not the best value.
How do they know, though?
And algorithmically, you can determine that. You can say, this person costs this much per year and they output this much last year, and pattern show that they are accelerating or decelerating or declining or whatever. And, yes, at the end of the day, that is an algorithm. It's just a very complicated one.
I bet you they have a lunch lady at their Meta cafe that is not making them money, as well as like an ethical advisor who doesn't make them money. I think there's a lot of nuance and decisions that are made. And what AI doesn't do well is nuance and context.
And yet it's its favorite word. That's a nuanced topic.
Yeah.
If you ever ask AI about religious, spiritual, or ethical type things, it almost always, like I ask the question, I'm like, all right, is Christopher Columbus a good guy or a bad guy? And it's like, that's a very nuanced question. I'm like, well, how nuanced is it really? I mean, did he actually discover America? Did he actually treat people with respect? That's a very nuanced question. And because it doesn't know where you stand on it yet.
Right.
So that's what it uses to try to figure out, like, well, what do you think, so that I can tell you what you want to hear?
Yeah. Let's just say, if we can, like, when is it okay? Like, what is the line for delegating or outsourcing our conscience?
Consciousness?
Consciousness.
Okay. Our consciousness, we should always strive to own our own consciousness. Well, so conscience is, to me, what's right or wrong. Consciousness is our interaction with the world around us. Like, it's what makes my body work, right? So I think that being alive and aware of what's around you, like if you are in any way outsourcing that, I think that that's what makes you you.
I can say, as somebody who is very disassociated, disembodied, somebody who does not feel a connection between body and brain, that I've outsourced. My brain has outsourced, some of the things that you would consider to be normal, basic things for you. For instance, you might feel pain because you have a connection to your body where I will not feel the pain. Now, I'm not saying that's true or not, but it is true that I don't feel certain things the way you might feel them. And that's because of my lived experience many years ago. And I was taught that out of body keeps me safe, right? So I think that already happens in a natural way.
Would you say that what we should be striving to do is be disconnected from our conscience?
No, not at all.
Okay. So we're in agreement there, is that
Yes.
Even if your body has used it as a coping mechanism in the past, the ideal is for us to be fully in our own consciousness.
Yeah. I think we'd have to go deeper into that in the future to make more of a defined view of what that is. Because, Curt, there's a lot of nuance there.
Yeah, there is a lot of nuance.
Like, shouldn't we feel every amount of pain? Like, when I give birth to children, should I not feel the whole experience because that's part of my human experience?
Well, okay. Maybe there is more for us to unpack there. So, okay, yeah, in that sense, you could outsource your pain to pain management, epidural. Are you agreeing? Okay.
That's what I want all day and all night. Yeah, I don't want to have those kids.
Okay. Well, then
pain.
maybe we do need to have a little deeper conversation on it, because my thought was whatever I could outsource to AI to interact with the world for me on behalf of me, or to experience for me and shield me from, like, that doesn't feel healthy to me. But I can see how you would categorize, like,
or even
pain.
like, I have my team shield me from dealing with unhappy clients or situations until I'm like the last resort. And I've outsourced that to them to just shield my mental state. But I think the difference is we don't want a robot to do that. Like, we want to be in control of how that's, like, I know that my team is taking that on and that there's a certain point where they will bring it to me. So I don't know. I think it is a bigger conversation when it comes to that. Maybe we should just say our voice. What's okay with our outsourcing with our voice?
Yeah, it gets really hard. Our conscience, I think, our source of what's right or wrong. I have found myself in a place where I understand 10 things, 100 things as far as what's right or wrong. And I'm able to usually distill down from those things and get the 1,000 or 10,000 or 1,000,000 things figured out. When it comes to our voice, now that's different because that's going out into the world.
Yeah.
And I think that anything that's repeating out things that you already have either said and believe or to be the case or whatever. It's unreasonable to think that a business owner in today's day and age isn't going to have to outsource their voice. Like, the world is so loud that megaphone's got to be run by some sort of machine. But what is the line where now that's not good?
Yeah, I was telling you a story earlier about the guy who trained me in 3.5 years ago how to use AI. He started training me how to prompt. He wrote a post about how it's sad that people don't want to read anymore. He created this method of like writing posts, but they're very long, they're paragraphs long. And I'm like, you taught me how to do that, and you taught a million other. I mean, I've written the way I write, right? But he taught people how to do this. And I see everybody writing in paragraphs online in the world, and nobody wants to read that much because it's a lot of junk most of the time. It doesn't feel like their actual thoughts or opinions as soon as you can see the AI or see the pattern. So it's easily dismissible. He has gotten to the point where he believes that his AI is so well trained, or he doesn't care. He's let it become his voice. He was always willing to let it become his voice right from the start. It was exciting to him, but he's a marketer and he understands like that's part of his thing. When I've met him in person, he's not like his voices online, just saying.
Well, and also he just wrote a post by AI.
Yes.
That was
feel like he was poking.
Yeah. There's this inception irony.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like whenever you're misrepresenting the thing that you've deeply thought about and you're offloading that thought process or those conclusions to something that someone else or something else did all the hard work to come up with those conclusions, and you're just adopting them, in a
AI doesn't come up with the hard work. It's stolen the words of millions of other people from over the years to come up with
training data.
Yeah. So it didn't like come up with it independent. We've stolen the words from other people.
So I could see that being the case. I mean, I think that's something that all of us should sit with. And we should probably ask ourselves, like, maybe that's a good place for today's podcast to sit down and think, what have I put out into the world via AI that I'm not so sure about?
Yeah, because I'll have AI write a lot of stuff. I'll write a lot of things. I'll have AI clean it up. And then I'll take it back and I'll clean up the AI because I don't want it to sound like the AI does. And I want it to be me, my words, but it's never quite me or my words because it's not me, right? But sometimes things will go out that are not my exact words, whether it's our podcast, social media manager sometimes putting out things on our behalf, or I've had my assistants do it in the past. I've always tried to make it that it's, hey guys, it's not Melody writing this. And I'm starting to see, people who have a lot of authority say things like, I'm thinking of like somebody's team. It'll say like Team Melody or something instead of saying the name of the person. I think people are understanding, like, I don't think it's a good idea to outsource your voice to your assistant just because you think they understand you and how you would write, or even an AI assistant necessarily. I think long-term that's going to really hurt us. Although I also believe that people have very short memories and I forget that.
You just reminded me of another thing that I shot down. And that was that, my marketer was like, hey, Curt, I need you to record a 10-second video saying these things. And then I can train AI what your face looks like. And it can basically recreate you. And it can use your voice to basically make it so I can just type videos and say what I want you to be doing. And then we can put out videos on Facebook of you saying the things, and I don't have to have you record anything.
That's MelBot. It's Curtbot.
So it would look like it's actually a recording of you saying things?
Oh, yeah. But I always call it MelBot, and I've made it purposely bad. It could look really good. I've made it purposely robotic and not understanding the joke, because then people know that it's on purpose, I hope.
Well, at first I was like, that sounds great that I wouldn't have to do any of that. And then I'm like, so what do we tell people when they're like, hey, is this AI? Because I'm like trusting her that she would always make me say things I believe in or agree in, or things I've said, or putting in transcripts of other things that I've said, like whatever, putting in a script that I've approved, like all of that.
Yeah.
But then you have to tell people, well, we're the kind of company that puts out stuff that is not real.
I've let my team make training videos that have my voice and my avatar. I gave them access to that for VAs. And one time they made a video for a goodbye video that for somebody, and it had me in it. It was hilarious that it was me, but I was like, guys, I didn't say that. And it was because they had made it and they knew that I would think it was funny. But the fact is, like, it's kind of a dangerous thing to put your likeness, your words, your voice into the hands of other people, including AI, because like I said last week, AI can now make those videos for me and I'm not even involved. But I think personally, just knowing where my brain is at, I either need to make a decision, unless I come up with a clever other idea of creating something that's an avatar for me that makes it so I don't have to do all of this content, or I just am quiet online like I was before and I lose all authority that I've worked hard to build up, right? And that's a hard decision.
I think that where I stand right now is that it's disingenuous to have a AI representation of myself saying things, even if I approve them. And I just think that if you're not willing to say it on video, that's fine. But then maybe it needs to be typed, because at any other point, the seed that you're sowing at that point is, if this guy's willing to use a fake person to send a message that's so important for the world to hear, then what other disingenuous stuff is he doing? It feels like it's in the same pile of unauthentic.
Yeah, having your assistant write messages to people and pretend it's you, except worse. And I agree with you on that. But I also feel like it's like we're always on the edge of like, I want to use this technology and push it to its farthest abilities. And I want to do it in an ethical way, which is really hard because we've never had these opportunities before. We don't know what it means to have a MelBot or a Curt bot that presents out to the world. But I see other people who have their AI avatars and they don't say it's not them. They just act like it is them. I can see, but really hard even for me to see at this point because they've honed it in so good. I can see it's not them. Also because I've met them in person sometimes or I've seen them speak. That's a hard line for me, is like, I don't want my bot to pretend to be me, like what your marketing person was saying. It always has to be MelBot.
So, okay, that's voice. I think that's good for people to sort of wrestle with a little bit. And can we finish on relationships?
Yeah.
Outsourcing relationships.
We probably shouldn't go too deep on the relationships one, because that could go really deep. But I think romantic relationships, nope, probably shouldn't go there, guys. Don't have a relationship with your AI bots because it's not real. It's just like paying somebody for dating, or when we used to have like the 1-800 or 1-900 numbers that you could call and pretend. Or in Japan, I see I can rent a family for a day or a dad for a day or a date for a day. They have that there. I mean, I don't think that's good it's good for a fun, like, how would that be to rent a family? But if you really have like need for a family, I don't think you should rent them. Just like I don't think you should pretend your bot is a family. So that's my view on that. What about you?
I think I'm with you on that. The devil's advocate in me, just all I can think of is that it wasn't until recently that we got married for love and not necessarily just convenience. So whether it was a family joining a royalty thing, or whether it was just like, hey, you're good at hunting and I'm good at sewing, or whatever it was, like, marriages were typically just like partnerships and staying survival. Today's world is a lot different. I really love being married with love. I really love having a relationship of someone who's not just a partner in staying alive, but also in thriving and emotionally taking care of one another and all that. And so I know that to try and manufacture that would be a huge step backwards. But I do think it's interesting that here we are finally getting to a place in humanity and society where we are marrying for love and we are able to experience life in this way. And now we're wrestling with the idea of these relationships just are really inconvenient. Wouldn't it be better if we could just have this person who looks exactly the way we want, whether it's physically possible or not. And then they'll always tell us the things we want to hear. And they can work really hard and really fast from maybe a code perspective or whatever it may be that an AI relationship could bring to the table. But it's disposable because it's not based off of love.
And not everybody marries for love necessarily. I just, by the way, put a post out for my anniversaries that said, Matt is not my best friend, but he is my best husband. And I said, if I ever said Matt was my best friend online, like everybody always talks about, you say Rachel's your best friend. My best friends would laugh at me. And so would Matt, because he's not my best friend, but he is the love. He is my person who's my ride or die. But I have other people in my life who have other roles, right? So I think even marriage is evolving at this point. Like we're starting to understand that one person should not be all things, and it was never meant to be that way. But we've kind of put that onto people. Maybe it's okay to have, if you're friendless, maybe you can have a friend in AI. If that's like your only option, I would say go out and get a friend though. There's a lot of people in this world. They're all weirdos. Like you could find one that's going to be okay to be your friend. I don't know.
I have never been through a divorce. I've never had a spouse do something to me that like ruined my view of the opposite sex or of what marriage is. So you have to understand, like I'm coming from a place of like, there's no replacing this. But I think it's important to acknowledge that there are people who would say, the worst thing that ever happened to me is I married this woman and then she turned into this thing, or I married this man and he abused me and did all sorts of things. I would never want to put myself in such a, I would much rather a computer take care of X and Y and Z for me and not ever have to go down the road of worrying about these other things happening to me again. I can't relate to that personally.
I can, because I was divorced.
Well, and I think that would be interesting to hear your perspective on it, because I think if I try to put myself in someone's shoes like that, I guess I could see where they would get there. Like it's a lot of people saying, why would I get married just to know that I'm going to have to always be with one person? And if they decide they don't want to be with me or I decide I don't want to be with them, I have to give up half my stuff to them. No way. You know, people say stuff like that. And yet to me, the reason I'm enjoying my life, like, why did you enjoy this? And I go back far enough steps why I'm enjoying it. It will almost always land on because I have a freaking awesome family and that is amazing. So because technology would be taking me away from that in a relationship, I, for that reason, would have to say that there's really not any room to outsource not a romantic or a familial relationship to technology. But I do understand that when you're outsourcing things like birthday cards or all of that, like, you know, I'm not going to hold it against anyone. You know, oh, cool, I got a text message wishing me happy birthday. It was probably written by AI from this person, you know?
I think sometimes I will admit that sometimes it's hard to write a card to people that I've troubled relationships with, but I still need to be like writing them cards, or I might have a fight with somebody, but I still need to write them a card. I will ask AI, I'll just say, hey, I'm in a fight with this person right now, so I'm not coming up with good stuff to say. Help me write something just to get ideas of how I can approach this without my pride getting hurt, or you know what I mean? So like I am guilty in that way of using AI. Boy, it's really all over the place. It's everywhere. But I don't write exactly what it says ever. Or like I had two friends have had children die in the last month in my life. How do you write something meaningful about that? So I do think outsourcing, sometimes I'm totally fine with that, because also I have horrible memory for dates and detail about things. I want to send you a birthday card, Curt. I can only do that if I remember what your birthday is. I want to show you that I care, because I do care. But does it mean more if I like go out and source you a gift or a card and then handwrite it and send it to you? Probably a lot. Yes. Will you still feel pretty pleased if I send you a card, even though AI is the one that reminded me and, you know, AI helped me write the message? You probably feel pretty good because nobody sends cards. I don't know.
You know, Melody, I'm going to give you a perspective that probably is going to blow your mind. And I guess it even kind of blows my mind. But when people send me text message wishing me a happy birthday or an email, or heaven forbid they call me, I hate it.
What?
It's like, oh, all right. now I have to respond to your text message where you wished me happy birthday. And like, I got to make it genuine. So like, we got like, thanks so much for the birthday wishes. I hope you and the family are doing well. And I got to answer 750 of those messages today. And then you call me and it's like, hey, Curt, just want to call and wish you happy birthday. And you're like, oh, thanks. Bye.
How dare they? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that's why I said it's going to blow your mind, is that like, I understand that the underpinnings are nice, but to me, it's like, we all know it's a formality, and I've got a lot of stuff going on that I want to do today. And what I don't want to have to do is keep getting pulled back to like answering the phone or sending text messages back or acknowledging the receipt of your birthday wishes.
I think this is something you might need to know. If you send somebody something that says happy birthday, are you expecting a response? I'm not. It's getting off of my checklist to send you a text saying happy birthday. Now I feel good about the fact that I didn't forget. I don't want you to respond, Curt. I want you to just go about your day. But my gift to you is you never have to respond when I say happy birthday, because it's really selfish. It's all about me remembering to send you a text about your birthday. And I think most people are like that.
Maybe. I guess I just always feel like now I've got responsibility here.
Facebook's a perfect example of that, because on people's birthdays, there are always people I get like 100 messages. Do you know I save them for the day after my birthday? I don't even read them on my birthday. And then if I want to, I respond, but usually I just heart. But nobody's expecting that even. I'm going to release you from that burden, Curt, except for phone calls. You do have to talk to, or you could just make a voice mail.
Or my mom will call. And
okay, that's different.
Like, hey.
It's actually her birthday, Curt. And I never want you to forget that.
Along those lines, and I know we're running long, so I don't mean to rabbit trails too far, but along those lines, I was in a car with some woman. Maybe it was my wife, maybe it was my mom, maybe it was my daughter. Somebody got a call and they were talking to that person, and the person called and it was like, hey, what are you up to? Oh, I'm driving to such and such a place. We're going to this thing. I'm like, oh, okay, well, what are you up to? I'm doing the thing. Oh, okay. And then they just kept talking. And then they got to the end and it was like, well, I'm going to let you go. I got to go. And they hung up. And in my mind, I was like, what just happened? There was no purpose to that call other than to just talk.
Did you not do that when you were a kid, when your friends would call and you'd be like, what's up? Not much. What's up with you? Not much. Like that. Or like you'd write a note. Like that's what that is. That's old school.
I told my wife after that, I was like, I just can't even imagine being a woman. If that's how it is to be a woman, like you would have to just talk to people and like burn all that time. And she's like, that's called relationship, Curt.
And that's why we have way more friends than guys do, by the way. That's why you guys have 2 friends and we have like 500 friends.
The other day, my wife asked, I think it was my son, she's like, how are you doing, buddy? He's like, doing good. She's like, no, how are you really doing? He's like, I'm really doing good. And she's like, okay. Anyway, we got to the end and I was like, Rach, I know that I probably play a part in this, but no guy really believes that anyone wants to actually hear a problem. Like, we exist to fix problems. And if we tell people our problems, we're adding to someone else's mental strain. And that's just another problem we'll have to fix. So, maybe we need to like walk this back, but I just want you to know that I learned it from whatever boyhood.
Sounds like you learned it from your father, who learned it from his father, and now you've passed it on to your son.
My kids. And I'm like, when you are asking what's wrong or something, like I know you actually mean it. I know you do. But I just couldn't even imagine a world where someone's like, how are you doing? Well, it's not going that great. I got like, let me tell you about like I just came and Rachel's like, I know, I always have to dig. And I'm like, and it's only when it crosses the point of where if you don't stop digging, we're going to have a bigger problem. So now I have to tell you because it's such a... Anyway, yeah. So there is definitely a lot of that. And to talk about, just to tie this into the relationship outsourcing thing is like, these feelings are real. And if for centuries men have been pushing these feelings down, and I'm sure women do too, but like those feelings that you're feeling, it might be more convenient in some sense to just say, I don't have to deal with those feelings. I can outsource that in some way to computers and robots. Well, everyone lose sight of the fact that I am a real feeling person feeling. And that's what makes me special.
Yeah. I also want to say we have to live with you guys. And you think you're holding your problem in so good. And like, we know that, like, if you just say, oh, I'm good, then we're just going to be like, okay. No, the problem is we see through all of that. And we're just like, no, let's just get it over with. I want to understand what's going on so we can get through this. So I don't have to deal with your mood or what, all the little subtle things that you do because I've lived with you for 20 something years. Like, that's what's really going on. I mean, there's a lot of love and kindness in it. But it's also like you guys aren't really good at hiding what's really happening. There are signs, there are signals. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, I'm glad that men and women exists in sort of a yin and yang pattern.
Yeah. We can talk about that in another different episode as well, because
I would love, we talk about it all the time. I would love to have our spouses on. So
oh my
that,
gosh.
Matt and Rachel could sort
For
of.
our 50th episode, it feels like the right thing to do. Rachel and Matt, do you even love us?
If they loved us, they would come on.
Yeah, they totally would.
Is that the kind of pressure we could apply that would
I don't
work?
think it's going to work. I think it's going to have the opposite effect. But
Rachel's made it pretty clear she's not interested, but
as did Matt. But we are eternal optimists and we believe in them. We've worked so hard, though, that they should honor that and come on so we can ask them lots of questions that they don't want to answer.
If they don't come on, let's have Ivan come on.
Yes.
Hear his absolute drunkenness power.
Or we can have Ivan and Jean Bear come on and pretend that they're Matt and Rachel. I think that's what will get Matt and Rachel on.
I could say, Rachel, either you can come on or Jean Ver can come on and
play Rachel.
To be you.
Yeah.
And I think Rachel will be like, well, I don't know that I feel comfortable with that. Okay,
That's
great.
true.
So you're on?
Yeah. Yeah, now they know our evil plan.
Well, it's been an interesting conversation, and I really hope that our listeners have enjoyed as much as I have, and I think you have, because this has been deep.
It has been deep. I never feel like there's like, now we have the answer, because there are no answers. I think we're very aware what we don't understand, and that makes it even harder. I bet you there are people, if they listen to this, they'd be like, you guys are totally missing this. And they would probably blow our minds with what they understand that we don't. But we don't have that perspective. So
that'd be cool to hear.
I know. I would love to. We always say we want to hear that. So if you are a human who listens to this, not a robot, you must be a human.
Yeah.
If you listen to this and you're like, they are missing a huge perspective, we want to hear from you.
Love it.
Well, thank you, Curt.
Thank you, Melody. It's been a wonderful, wonderful day with you.
Yes, it has been. And Curt, I'm leaving next week on a adventure for a while.
Yeah, we're not going to see. Well, hang on. I thought we had one more before you leave. Don't we have?
Yeah, we do have one more this week. But next week, I guess that was too early because I'm already in the future. I'm already on my family vacation next week. So forget I ever said that, Curt.
I'll save my goodbyes.
Okay, good. Well, I hope you have a good rest of the week. And thank you for listening, humans. The end. That's
the end.